Week 2 waiver wire. Let's go, baby. All right, every time I see waivers, I always see I'm in the 28 team start 48 players league. So I'm just going to use my league as a reference. This is a 12 team super flex PPR league. Start 2 flex, 1 super flex. So that's what you're going to see is available. So I'm going to talk about that. I'll obviously mention some other guys if they're available. If you're in one of those 30 team experts only leagues, just let me know who you have available and I can definitely take a look. So let's start with quarterbacks. As you can see, like I said, super flex. So the top quarterbacks available are Spencer Rattler, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Flacco. I would go Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco, Spencer Rattler in that order if you need someone immediately, especially when we're talking about super flex. If we are talking super flex, I think a 20 to 25% bid if you're really desperate is totally fine. Obviously would like to get these guys for cheaper, looking at like 10%. If we're in a 1 quarterback league, none of these guys are super intriguing, honestly. If you're desperate, 5% maybe, but I would like to get these guys 1 to 3%. Spencer Rattler might be a more interesting stash as he's younger and he's in the Kellen Moore offense, but I would definitely go with Rodgers or Flacco if you need someone immediately. Obviously, if like a Michael Penix, Daniel Jones is available, go with one of those guys over these guys, but these are based on my availability. Next, we have running back. As you can see, Kareem Hunt, Kenny Gainwell, Miles Sanders are the top available. I hope to God that none of these guys are someone that you need for right away because you are in trouble if you need one of these guys. This is not a good running back week. I would rather spend my money on someone that's more of like an interesting dart throw as opposed to these guys if you need them desperately. Maybe 5%. I wouldn't really want to go even to that, honestly. I'd rather see if I can get them at 1 to 2%. Just do a little price enforcement. You do not need these guys. These are not going to win you the league as it currently stands. I would look more like scroll the F down here and look at like a LaQuint Allen, like a Tyler Bidet. These guys are more interesting profiles. Obviously, if for some reason Bayshal Tootin or Quinshon Judkins are available, you go for those guys. Those are like 20 to 25% bids. Those guys are smashes. But, in my league, those guys are not available. So I'm assuming they're definitely not in yours. But LaQuint Allen, third down back for the Jaguars. Tyler Bidet, third down back for the Broncos. Neither of these guys are like league winning upside unless something crazy happens with injury or trade. But they're interesting, especially in PPR. So I would go for more of one of these guys, more of a straight handcuff, like a Tyler Algier if they're available. But nothing that we're breaking the bank this week. Wide receiver, we got QJ, Juju, Kayshon Boutte. Those are going to be like your right away guys if you need someone. I don't think any of these guys are like crazy production. Juju is going to be very limited. As soon as Xavier Worthy returns, as soon as Rashee Rice returns, he's going to be mothballed. So I'm not like, unless it's just like a 1 to 2 week fill-in. Because of that, I'm not doing anything more than like 5%. QJ, I think you could maybe warrant like a 10% if you really need it. I do think he's an interesting long-term play. He came on strong end of last season, looking to start the season really well. Justin Herbert's obviously amazing. So I could justify up to 10%. I would rather see if I can get him for 5%, and I'm not going to be heartbroken if you lose out at that price. I do think the more interesting stashes are like the Io Manners or even Boutte, honestly, just because he did really start to come on strong with Drake May at the end of last year. So those guys are more like interesting dart throws to end the season, especially Imanor. I'm not trying to get these guys at expensive price, like max 5%, more like 3%, if not even 2%, even 1%. If you're feeling like your league isn't going to pick up on these guys, I'm not going to be like heartbroken if you don't get them. I think Io Manor would be like the one I'm looking to stash though. All right, then we got tight end, last but not least. I would say like if we need immediate production, Jawan Johnson, Brenton Strange, those are my go-to guys. Ertz, obviously great too. I think he just got another touchdown. So, he's just a go-to target for Jaden Daniels. So I'm not mad about it. I do think that there's a little bit more upside with like a Jawan Johnson or especially a Brenton Strange. But the floor is going to be really safe with like an Ertz. I do think the floor should be relatively safe with a Jawan Johnson. The only, downside being that it's the Saints. But these guys are not like break the bank guys for sure. But I think you can, stream these guys for a couple weeks and see, how the waivers play out. But if we're talking league winners, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it probably is a fucking duck. Harold Fandon Jr. is like my stash this week. Like, obviously he flashed, so he's not going to be like a complete surprise to anybody. But I do think he has the highest upside. Look at what he's already able to produce with Njoku on the field. He had, I want to say 7 targets and he made a lot out of those 7 targets. And you got a lot of interesting formation lineups out in the slot, in the backfield, wildcat quarterback. He's definitely like the league winning stash. I wouldn't break the bank on him. If you are absolutely desperate, I could justify 15-20%. But I would want to sneak this guy by, with like a 5%, max 10%. If you need someone to fill in for Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer is a good one. Just because, Brock Bowers is a Monday night game time decision. So you could just 1-for-1 replace him. And I think actually Mayer is a decent, 1 week fill in, if Bowers is injured. But I wouldn't, go crazy on anything here. But I do think Harold Fandon is the play if you're looking for an upside stash at tight end. That's week 2. This is not a break the bank week. We're saving our money for next week because there probably be more likely to be an injury next week. No league winners that I'm seeing. If you have the number 1 waiver claim, I'm not blowing that either. But we're maybe gonna sneak by a couple interesting flexes, but nothing crazy. And then we are on to next week. If you have questions, let me know in the comments, and be sure to like and follow for more.